And Mr. Neeme already adding on for 5K. Nice to have the ownership group back at the lodge to kick off Fall Mayhem. Don't forget the meetup game will be on Monday, folks. If you want to stack Slick Rig 2, 3, maybe even 4 times, Monday will be your opportunity. How about Pocket Aces for Alex?
First stream ever.
Yeah, they don't have these really.
And Brad, who filled in yesterday, had a rough go. Looks down at the Gretzky's in position, makes the call.
I didn't come all the way to Austin or phone.
I definitely didn't come all the way to Austin.
In this video for PokerNews.com, we are playing 25, 50, 100 with a 100 big blind ante at the lodge, $20,000 deep. In this hand, Doug Polk in early position bumps it up with the Jack 10 offsuit. He's looking to gamble. Over round to Brad Owen on the button with pocket nines. He calls. Then Alex ruins Doug Polk's plan. He makes it 1,600 from the third blind with ace of diamonds, ace of clubs. That's exactly what you're looking for whenever loose, aggressive, battling players raise. Doug Polk figures it out. He gets out of the way, but Brad, in position, closing the action, has an easy call. Let's see if he can make triple nines.
And number 2, Alex with the bullets.
None of y'all live here?
No, Vegas.
Brad picked up some outs, looking for an 8 or a 9.
Oh, yeah. I just moved here.
Oh, nice. Welcome. You want checks? Great spot.
Yeah, I ditched Miami for here.
Nice. Hold on one second, guys.
Not the worst flop for pocket nines, unless your opponent has aces.
Flop comes 7, 6, 5. A horrible flop for pocket aces because Brad is going to have lots of suited connected hands and small and medium pairs in his range that nail this board. Recognizing that, Alex checks. Brad then goes for a $2,000 bet into the $3,675 pot, which is perfectly reasonable with a hand like pocket nines that is often good, but certainly does not mind protection against the various overcards. Let's see how Alex proceeds.
Not at all.
Here for anything in particular?
Alex checking the aces. Brad definitely has all the 5, 6, 7s, all the sets in his range.
Then I have my house in New Orleans.
But he's definitely not folding.
Facing a relatively large bet of about 60-ish% pot, I think aces can probably just call, which is what Alex does. If Brad bets smaller, I think aces is going to want to raise a little bit more often, purely because you always have the best hand, but you're somewhat vulnerable. But as Brad uses a bigger and bigger bet on the flop, you should be raising less and less often in general. If stacks were shallower, you definitely want to raise a little bit more often and just get it all in immediately. But when you are very deep stacked, 200 big blinds, you do have to be a little bit more cautious. So Alex calls. Let's head to the turn.
But Brad might think he's good here as we go to a turn card.
Yeah.
Another 5.
Check, check. To the river we go.
The turn is the 5 of hearts. Alex is going to check pretty much every time, which is what he does. And then, maybe to your surprise, Brad, with his overpair, checks it back. Why in the world would he check it back here? Well, when his flop bet gets called, he already got a lot of the protection he was looking for from the various unpaired high cards, which means it's kind of likely Alex has an overpair. And if you consider the overpairs that Alex could reasonably have, they all beat pocket nines. So this is a spot where Brad doesn't really need a whole lot more protection from the overcards, and if he bets and gets called or raised on the turn, he's very often beat. So Brad recognizes that. He realizes his hand is now marginal, even though it is an overpair. So he checks it through. Good check. Let's head to the river.
There's the 8. Brad comes from way behind.
See if Alex wants to put out a block type of bet here. He checks.
The river is the miraculous 8 for Brad. Pocket aces just keeps getting worse. It checks. What I want to know is how much do you think Brad will bet in this situation now that he's been checked to with his straight? You think he'll bet $3,000, $6,000, or do you think he will rip it all in for about $16,000? Take a second, think about it, and write what you would do in the comment section down below. And while you're there, click the like and subscribe button for me, as well as that little notification bell. Ding ding. So the pot is 7,675 and Brad has 16,000 in his stack. When you are considering a value bet on the river, you always want to ask, what am I trying to get value from? And in this scenario, we are very clearly trying to get value from an overpair. So how much will an overpair call? Well, if we rip it all in, I think all the overpairs are just going to fold. They realize they lose to all sorts of hands here, so they're just going to let it go. So I think an overbet is out of the question. Next question becomes, should we bet something like 6,000 or 3,000? And in spots like this, you want to ask, if I bet 3,000, will that get called twice as often compared to if I bet 6,000? And in this spot, given I think we're pretty much only going to be getting called by overpairs, because I don't think we're going to get hero called by ace-6 suited or ace-7 suited all that often, although maybe we will. I think overpairs don't really care how much you bet as long as the bet is not gigantically large. So, in this spot, I would bet if we bet 3,000 compared to 6,000, the 3,000 bet only gets called a tiny bit more often than the 6,000 bet. So in this scenario, the 6,000 bet is going to extract a whole lot more value, assuming, this is a big assumption, overpairs will call 6,000. I think if I was in Brad's shoes, I probably would have gone a little bit smaller, like 5,000. I think when you start going to 6 or 7 or 9, you will find that a lot of people start folding overpairs, recognizing that this board just nails Brad's range. So I think we want to go medium. And, well, let's see what Brad does.
Brad loving that 8 of spades. We'll go for value. Depends on the size if Alex is going to come along or not. Going to be hard for Alex to get away.
6,000.
Almost full pot. A large size from Brad.
6,000.
Alex, a very savvy player. Losing to 6s full, 7s full, 8s full, pocket 9s.
A9, A4.
That's right. Only really beating 10s or jacks.
What do you have, bro? Check back. Pair.
So much beats him. Early in the stream, he makes the call. And Brad is going to pick up 19,675.
About what he lost yesterday in that pot. He gets it back on hand number 2.
Brad does go for the 6,000 bet. It gets called. He scoops a nice pot. And that's lucky for him.